evening, everybody. Could I invite everybody to come, find a seat, and then we're going to stand together. We're going to start with some worship, and then we'll head into all the different things that we're doing today. Can I invite everybody to stand, please? Let's all find our seats. There will be more time to socialize afterwards and be in fellowship with one another. Just so glad that everybody's here together, that we can worship our God together. We can learn more about Him through discussion, through worship, through prayer, through our speaker. I just pray that we'll just experience God together tonight. So I invite us just to take a little bit of time just to set our hearts in the right place for worship, and then I'll get us started.
Who am I that the highest
will deliver them. He will deliver them. Magnify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Oh, blessed is He who hides in Him. Oh, fear the Lord. Oh, all you saints, He'll give you everything. He'll give you everything. Magnify the Lord. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Let us bless the Lord. Let us bless the Lord every day and night. Never-ending praise. May our incense rise. Let us bless the Lord every day and night. Never-ending praise. May our incense rise. Let us bless the Lord every day and night. Never-ending praise. May our incense rise. Let us bless the Lord every day and night. Never-ending praise. May our incense rise. Magnify the Lord. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Magnify the Lord. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for tonight and this fellowship and for everyone getting here safely. I just want to thank you for Pastor Dan speaking with us tonight to share about how the church has grown and evolved. I pray that we really take the things that he shares with us tonight to heart and figure out ways that we can apply it to the rest of our week next week. And yeah, I just pray that you bless our conversations tonight while we're in our small groups and also our fellowship afterwards. Thank you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
All right, please be seated.
Testing? Test. It's okay, right? Good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grad Fellowship. If you're new, we will get a chance to break up into small groups where you can get to know one another. And also, to remind everyone, and again, if you're new, this is our mission statement. So our mission is to basically illuminate the world in our cultural context, whether it's in grad school or in work. And it's to show the light of Christ, whether it is to walk like Jesus, act like Jesus, and even seeing the world like Jesus. If you are new here, we have a new station at the back. You can join the Discord group chat, and you can also get connected with some people. I think Corey is spearheading that. I don't know if that, yes, it's Corey spearheading that. So after Grad Fellowship, or after our night finishes, you can go at the back and get connected. But first, we have some weekly updates. So next week, we are not meeting at Grace Toronto. We don't have this room booked, so there's no one here for you. On the other hand, there is the men's and women's gathering. So on the Discord chat, there are going to be 2 Partiful links. Make sure you go to the one according to your gender, because that is very important. But once you signed up, then I believe the location will then be revealed. So make sure to sign up in the Discord on the Partiful links based on your gender. Also, this upcoming Saturday, I think Corey is also leading some weekly Saturday Devos. They're going through 1 John, and so if you're interested, just pop by at 10 a.m., where you can just join the Discord channel, and I'm sure it'll be a good time reflecting on 1 John. Next, we have a Christmas party in about 2 weeks. If you're interested, we have a Partiful link that I think expires next week. Next week is probably going to be our deadline, next Friday. And make sure to e-transfer $20. I thought I could get away by not e-transferring, but I also had to e-transfer 20 as well. And as soon as you e-transfer 20, they're pretty quick with approving your attendance. Now I'm going to ask Tommy to come up to speak on some sort of Christmas initiative. So I think this works, right? Yep.
Howdy. Yeah, so some of you remember last year during Christmas we did. Oh, Charles is here. Wait. Brother Charles, come up here. Come up here. Yes, Charles. I didn't. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, we'll do it together. Yeah, so last year we did a charity initiative where on the Sunday, a couple of us went after lunch, and we went and bought stuff for, I think it was for the encampment in Duffin Grove Park. And yeah, we were really surprised by the generosity of people. So this year we're planning to do 2 initiatives, or help out with 2 initiatives. One is the sleeping bags here at Grace, the Jericho Ministry, and also with, as you see above, Haven Toronto. It's a local kind of ministry here in downtown where they serve mainly homeless people, like men, like 50 or older. So then we'll be buying like supplies that they need. I think some of the supplies are like toiletries, clothes, sleeping bags as well. Whoa, reverb. Should do some dubstep right now. But yeah, we're planning for December 5th. So if you're going to be here on Sunday, please look out for that. We'll probably post something in the Discord. And yeah, I think I missed.
So if you can't make it on the Sunday, we're allowing for donations as well, and we'll put those donations towards the purchases on the Sunday. And we'll keep everybody updated in terms of where the money's going and the items we buy. So looking forward to that. It's a great initiative. Did a great job last year, and hopefully we can beat the record from last year.
It's a very high bar. Cool. Thank you, Tommy and Charles. And maybe on a tangentially related topic, we're just going to do a quick financial update. So earlier in this, I think, school term, we did ask for some money, and I think here outlines very briefly our budget. And thanks to all of you guys, we're able to make this budget. So round of applause. And so if you do feel like you still want to give, feel free. But for the most part, we have fulfilled most of what we wanted, and so then extra money will probably go to other ministries or roll over to the next year. So thank you everyone for a very quick fundraising. And lastly, for serving roles, I believe we are still looking for people to join our hospitality. That includes door holding and connecting newcomers. If you've been to Grad Fellowship for a while, then this could be a good opportunity for you to serve and to feel like you're connecting others to this community of ours. All right, cool. So for today, you guys all know that Dan McDonald will be speaking. But first, we're going to be starting off with some small group discussion as we try to get set up. So if you guys could spend maybe 10 minutes turning to a neighbor and discussing these two questions regarding what are the marks of a healthy or unhealthy church, as well as what does it mean for church to be a family. So turn to someone beside you or get into a group of 2 or 3s and feel free to discuss as we set up. And Sean, you can set up like a timer for 10 minutes or so. Okay. All right, everyone. Hopefully everyone had a good discussion regarding what a healthy church looks like. Does anyone want to give some sort of answers before we proceed? No pressure or anything. Charles.
I think, one of the marks of a healthy church, I think, is it strikes a good balance between, on the doctrine and the teachings being really sound and rigorous, but also not making people feel excluded or judged, and being there to hear people out whatever they're struggling with. So I think that's like a tough balance to strike, but I think that makes a healthy church.
Very good. Anyone else? Aaron, what did your group talk about? Right, gospel believing, expressing, okay. Okay, yeah, kind of similar to Charles, right? Like a strong biblical foundation. Dan, what would you say is your idea of what a healthy church would be?
Well, good evening. It's great to be with you. You can say good evening back. It's okay. I won't be offended. Good evening. It's a delight to be with you. I always enjoy coming to Grad Fellowship, and it's one of my favorite places to be, actually, on a Friday night. I've been thinking about this for quite a while because when we were first coming here, we sat down with a kind of church planting mentor, and he said, describe the kind of church that you want to have. And it was really interesting because it was both quantitative, like what would it look like on a Sunday morning, what kind of music would you have, but qualitative. And what I realized is I'm most interested in qualitative characteristics. So we would talk and he would say, like, what's your church like? I said, I'd like a church where it's okay to ask questions, because I ask all kinds of questions all the time in my journey of faith and even afterwards. So I want a church that's okay with asking questions and kicking the tires. I want a church that's really open, like your balance that Charles mentioned, like really strikes a chord, that's really got a robust theological commitment, but is really at the margins very open and inclusive and welcoming to anyone to enter the discussion. And so that striking the balance between we hold our beliefs quite firmly, but quite joyfully, and not in a mean or dogmatic or way. And so a kind of a joyful, dialogical, questioning kind of church that had a lot of people all over the spectrum of belief, from outright skeptics to seekers to people who've been Christians forever. That's what I was hoping for. At the same time, I wanted a high commitment church where people were really hungry to learn the Bible and really to learn how to grow in their faith. And so, he thought I was pretty idealistic, but because when we were planting this church, most of the churches that really focused on people who were not yet Christians decided to have a low commitment culture, so you could come in and come out whenever you wanted. It suited the lifestyle of people who were investigating the faith, but then it leaked into the Christians as well. And then there were very high commitment churches where everyone seemed to know their Bible and bring their Bible everywhere, and it was very high commitment and people were hungry. But outsiders or people who were questioning really felt excluded. And so we kind of wanted this balance. So we had a lot of the high commitment, but enough room at the margins, as it were, for people who are trying to figure things out. So that was a really important thing that I always wanted to have, because the Christian Legal Fellowship in law school, when I was a skeptic, they were committed to their faith, but they'd let me kick the tires, they'd let me try and get them drunk, they'd let me just go all over the place. Didn't bother them. And so they still to this day were a microcosmic community about this size, maybe smaller actually, and yet they had that balance that I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's some of the things.
Right, so what have you done at Grace to actually facilitate that curiosity or the open-minded? I guess that's one question. And the second question would be, when it comes to the culture of Toronto, right? How does that actually jive with this open-minded church? And maybe you could also talk about our generation of people who maybe question more or less.
How long do we have? Great questions. When I thought about one of the things we wanted to try and do to create a sense of openness was demonstrate it from Sunday morning. So we decided to do Q&A right in the service. Even Redeemer New York with Tim Keller, they're our coach. We took all of our training from them. We took most of our coaching from them, but they didn't even put it in the service. They do it afterwards. We just decided to put it right in the service to tell everybody questions are okay. We're actually, I think, out of accord with our denomination. I don't think you're supposed to have it until the benediction is done. But I just felt like it was important for our people to be able to know that they could ask questions. And so it was really fun because at first, when we first had services, I don't know how many are here, but our services were smaller than this when we started. About 30 people, 28 people. And then it got to 40 or 45, which is probably what we're 50 right now. And there were probably 5 or 6 people who were not Christians yet, and they wouldn't ask questions. So we had to plant leaders beside them who'd go, look, if you have a question, I'll ask it for you. Because we hadn't figured out to text it in yet. We hadn't had the brain paradigm yet. So you had to ask the questions live, and it was too intimidating for them. So that was one thing we did. And then in our small groups, we would train our leaders to welcome everyone wherever you are in your journey of faith and make prayer optional for those who weren't. So we tried to make it that most of our structures had room in it for people at various places. So yeah, that's kind of what we tried to do. We still try and do it. We still, with 2 services, man, and communion every week. Those 2 things make it really hard to have Q&A every week, but we do our level best.
It must be stressful for the intern pastors.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Our first interns came to me. I remember Kieran coming, he was red-faced. He goes, I'm never doing Q&A again, ever. So we only had it for me for a long time. And then actually what happened was coming out of COVID, because Lyndon liked it, Kyle wanted to try it, so the second gen liked it, and then Kingsley loved it. So and Tarek was like, I'll do whatever you guys tell me to do. So this generation does it again. So yeah, that's kind of what's happened. So they're just used to it now. Tarek, I didn't quite come to faith, but he really kind of rekindled his faith here. His wife came to faith while she was coming here, so this is what they know, yeah. So What was your next question? How have we seen it evolve?
In relation to the culture in Toronto, and also the generational. Maybe.
Well, the funny thing about Toronto, which was interesting, I'd call New York and go, they're too afraid to ask questions. They go, you're kidding me. Tim has 100 skeptics crowding into a room yelling at him after every service. Like, they're not afraid to ask questions. So I realized Toronto's a more polite society. So one of the things that we realized is they actually love the opportunity to ask questions, but they're too polite to ask them. So in our first year, we actually had to figure out the kind of questions. So we had leaders who would ask their skeptical friends, what kind of questions does this verse have? Then they would ask the questions in the service for us. And then the skeptics sort of got a little more comfortable, but the big turnaround was when we texted it, and you could have anonymity. Now we have all kinds of crazy questions. Is Bigfoot the Nephilim? Who asked these questions? I have no idea. It's maybe one of you, I don't know. But having that anonymity helped because Toronto, they love the questions, but we had to find a delivery system that they were more comfortable with. So the anonymous text really works, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the additional question there would be kind of the generational differences in which you've observed about people asking more and more or less questions.
There are two things happening right now that make an old man very excited. The two things are you share with the previous generation not too much biblical training and stored up knowledge from your church growing up. Most youth groups, most young adult groups, college groups are a little light on doctrine. Ours is trying to get better, but we get it. You share that with the previous generation, but you're much hungrier for God than the previous generation, and that's really exciting. The second thing that I find really encouraging is there's something going on in the culture. I had a call from a guy in Rexdale. He's a friend of mine. He pastors. We do the Good Friday service together. He said, Dan, do you know anything about Sikhs? I said, pardon? He says, I got Punjabis coming into my service, walking in. I think they're having dreams or something, and they're just showing up at church trying to find out about Jesus. And I don't know how to share Jesus with Punjabi people. And I said, that's not my specialty, sorry. How about Muslims? I said, yeah, we got a few of those here at Grace, for sure. I said, why? He said, I have more non-Christians just walking in the door than I've ever seen. So I started calling around, and every pastor I've talked to has seen a significant upswing in people just kind of walking in they weren't invited, they don't have a friend who's been telling them about Jesus for a while from the church. God somehow prompted them to come and seek answers. And so there's something going on. There's a spiritual searching going on in Canada. And we just had a meeting with Alpha where they did a Zoom call, and they actually have data now that there's spiritual interest in people under 30 and maybe even under 25 is up 30 or 40% over previous generations. So there's something really exciting going on in your generation, yeah.
Okay. And this will segue into the slides you prepared, but I was also wondering, how has your idea of the ideal church have evolved over time? I'm sure it's changed quite a bit since.
Yeah, it's come crashing down. Yes. We're all idealists. I now say this because I do assessments and church planting training all the time, but I tell people, this is my opening line, the day you plant your church is the day you have a funeral for the church you thought you'd have, because it's going to be so different. Churches just aren't the way their planter wants them to be. Having said that, there's a lot of things about Grace Toronto that we've really celebrated. There is a robust theology, and there is kind of an openness, especially with Alpha and other things for people. So we've done some of the things we've really hoped to do. We've seen God allow to come to fruition. But a couple of things we've discovered that we had not paid enough attention to. We didn't pay enough attention to the distractions of our phones. You and I, and I'm with you on this, we waste inordinate amounts of time on our phones that could be used in discipling ourselves. So when I was your age, I would come home from work. My work hours as a lawyer were almost identical to the work hours of lawyers today. Bankers, the same. It's almost identical. So I had all kinds of, I'd get home at 7:30, have a meal, 8 o'clock. I'd now have 3 hours. What do? I'd go and have fun, community with people, or I'd read my Bible, or I'd read a book about God and doctrine and the Bible and how to live the Christian faith. We were reading all the time. You guys might be podcasting somewhat. They can be helpful if you get the right podcast. Good books are way better than bad books. But what we were used to was self-feeding. We had a tenth of the resources you have, but we were twice as disciplined to do it, I think, as this generation generally is. And so we had no doom scrolling. We just had a lot more intentionality with our time. TV was the only thing we had to fight, and it was just so crappy and so filled with commercials that So I would say I wish I'd done a lot more about community. The other thing I wished I had figured out is because we're in the heart of the city, there's a fair bit of high turnover. I wish I'd found, and we're trying to find one now, something that if you came in, we would have a step-by-step way of discipling you so that you would leave in 3 years much better equipped to go bless whatever church you're going to next. So I didn't realize this is a lot like campus ministry for about 40-50% of our church. The other 50% stays much longer, 7, 8, 10 years. But there's a group that comes 2 to 4 years. And we should have thought about a discipleship curriculum that you could go through. Oh, this is so cool. Luke. Sorry. That you could go through. And so I wish we'd done more intentional, smaller discipleship for you, because you come out of campus ministries, most of you, right? And you had some of that. And it actually works well at your age if you have the time. And I think you have the need. Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea. Is there something in the works with that? Or is that more like...
Well, it's in my brain now, and I've talked to Joe Choi about it. So the lag time between me talking to Joe about it and it happening is usually about 6 months before. So I think by next September, we may have something that we're starting. We're already talking to a New Market church that has tried it. We're looking at some best practices. The real issue is you have to train lay people, and then they do it to other lay people, and then it scales out. So, yeah.
Very neat. So you have some slides prepared.
Oh, yes, I want to just give you a quick snapshot, because one of the things, who was here when I spoke 2 years ago? Just put your hand up. It's okay. Yeah. So there's only like 5 of you. So he said there's a whole new group that doesn't know you at all. So we're just going to let people get to know you a little bit. So quick slideshow, and thank you. That's my first office at our first church building, 41 Britain. It actually had elements of design and aesthetic to it. I miss that. Since we moved to the old church, we just kind of throw stuff in that kind of works, but could also be used for a cry room or a nursing room. But that's 41 Britain Street, a tiny little building with 1,500 square feet per floor on each floor. Next slide. But that's the sanctuary. There it is. We can fit more people in this room than we could in our sanctuary back then. But wasn't it cool looking? Back in 2006, when we opened up, that was kind of a loft feel where you could jam people in a horseshoe. That's how it kind of looked like. That's Ben Jolliffe, our church planning intern, doing a talk on singleness and dating. We still have a lot of singles, as you can see. So that was that. But that's a feel for... and that was another event as well. That's kind of a feel for how intimate, and so discussions, it had the vibe that we were trying to create. Intimate discussion, dialogue. And so it was like an ancient church in a kind of a vintage space with a modern feel. And so we really enjoyed that experience. And God really blessed us. We went from 60 to 140 in a year, from 140 to 220 in the next year, and had to leave our own building and go rent a school. This is The second school we rented, the first school kicked us out after a year. This is Rosedale School of the Arts. We went from 240 to almost 500 here because God gave us a building with air conditioning and parking, and across the street from a subway station. And it had a theater, which was just, this was the place that I thought, okay, it's got a theater feel, we're doing Q&A, it's just kind of has that sense of what we wanted to be. That's one of our former elders trying to be baptized there. This is Lee Mark's favorite place because Lee Mark's a photographer and he loved the lighting. Keep going. You'll get another one. And that's your worship leader, Chun, back in the day. Here's a trip down memory lane. Chun would have been about 22 then. Next slide. I think you're going to get, that's Rosedale Heights. That's the feel, very kind of indie. We're sending our first church plant out. That's Kyle, our church planter. That's the last service at Rosedale before we moved into this building. And that's my addiction to sweater vests that my wife loves to mock about me. As a matter of fact, on our last Halloween Sunday at Rosedale, 108 people came in vests to mock me. Yes, it was almost half the congregation. I remember Good Fridays that we have now at the big St. Paul's Church. That's the second one we had. Don't have a picture of the first one. Winter Garden Theater downtown, right near Massey Hall. We had over 1,000, so we had to move to Convocation Hall. I don't know if you know that. We were at U of T for 4 years until they quadrupled the price on us, probably because we were Christians. I'm not sure. But that's us at Convocation Hall. There's Lyndon Jost, associate pastor. He was our intern. That was Lyndon when he was cool with his dreads. And then, keep going. That's Tarek in his Bollywood star years. That's Tarek as we're sending him off to Regent as our intern, sending him off for theological training to come back with Kyle. And that's Joe, right after the faux mock years. His wife made him get rid of the faux mock because they were getting married. So that's a blast down memory lane. He was newly married. Anything else? We used to do faith and work outreaches. So this is at Deneen Coffee House on Yonge Street. This was for the financial and legal community. So we had a lawyer and 2 bankers. In the middle is Ozzy, that's one of our elders. And then on the next night, we had for the academic community, we had an outreach down at U of T. So that's L'Espresso Bar Mercurio. We took it over for a night and had a professor speak about being a Christian professor. And that's our building before we bought it. Everything was brown and light blue. But note the pulpit. Can you see it? The pulpit is so high that it would be above the screen that we have right now for worship. Take a look at the next picture. Look how high it is. His eyes are above the railing for the balcony. He's looking straight, eye to eye, into the first level. First thing I said when we got there is, "We're taking this sucker down." I'm not going up there every week.
The church used to be a Latvian church?
What's that?
It used to be
It was a Latvian
right.
and Estonian Lutheran church. They bought it from the United Church. Yeah. Back in the day. We had a Super Bowl party here just before we renovated. And then this was this space. You don't know, but right here was the stage. See the stage? So the actual space was right here. So I know our worship people, maybe you wish you still had the stage, but that's just a little history of your space.
The last slide.
And if you take a look, that's the Discernment Sunday. The people who we asked if we could rent or buy it said, we're not sure. We want to go on a 2-year discernment journey. 2 years. So, because you're in Toronto, everything takes 2 years. So actually you can maybe fix a pothole in 2 years here in the city. But so here we said, can we rent your space and you can see our congregation as you're discerning? And we filled it with 400 of us, and they started crying. The average age of their congregation was 71. The average age of ours was 28. They hadn't seen people under 30 in a service. or kids in years. That's when something happened. The next week they said, we're going to pray about how we can sell this to you. And so that was the deciding point right there.
Yeah, and I think that's the last slide.
And that's the last slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a little snapshots of grace through the years.
So I guess recycling my previous question, has your ideal church changed over time? Like, what have you learned as a pastor from day one?
So one of the things that I've learned about being a pastor in the city for a long time is I've begun to develop deep relationships with other pastors in the city. Little Trinity, Tim Houghton and I are quite good friends. Jenny Anderson at St. Paul's Bloor and her husband are quite good friends of ours. Paul Martin up in Rexdale. Justin Galati's perhaps one of my best friends as well at West Toronto Baptist. Deepening relationships has helped us see that we don't need to be everything. Certain churches are called to be better at some things and not at all things. Every church that tries to do everything well ends up being terribly self-righteous, or it drives its people often to burnout, or it gets depressed and discouraged. Most churches that try and do too many things end up doing very few things well. And so what we began to learn in our first 10 or 15 years was we tried to do everything, because Redeemer was 6,000 people, and they had all these ministries. We had all these ministries when we were 80 people. I was burning people out. It was crazy. And then we didn't have the leadership to do them all well. And I found out, Tim finally admitted, it took us like 18 years before we could finally do Faith and Work full time because we didn't have a leader. You waited 18 years? Oh yeah, we were 4,000 people before we started the Faith Work Ministry. I said, I was 40 people and did a conference. And he just smiled at me. So what we learned was the church is God's bride and Christ's bride and his body. But the particular church is both an expression of his body and a part of a symphony God is playing. And our role is to play that part, those notes. And so we don't do everything as well as we'd like. We do some things quite well, actually. We do some things quite mediocre, actually. And we've learned to be okay with that. And I talked to someone, I really want a better youth group. I said, okay, great. Go to Little Trinity. They've got a fantastic youth group right now. Tim's a great pastor. Oh, we want something that's a little more liturgical. I said, great. Jenny Anderson's a friend of mine. Just go to St. Paul's Bloor. They're a little higher church. They're still a gospel-loving community. So we now have a greater freedom to say we don't have to be everything. And that's been really nourishing and relieving, because I put a lot of pressure on myself for us to be good at everything. And I have a high internal critic, as many of you know. And so it's been really nice to go, we don't have to have the best youth group. Let's partner with St. Paul's. They admitted they suck at their youth group too. So now together we have a pretty good youth group, and kids like it. But they were two tiny youth groups, and we just finally got humble enough. So when you're humble enough to collaborate, such beauty happens. And so when you don't think you're everything, but you can contribute something, I think it's a much healthier place to be.
So what would you say that Grace Toronto would specialize in then, or something that we do quite well?
One thing Grace Toronto has done well, according to other churches around us, is it has been a place for disaffected young professionals reconnecting to their faith or thinking about faith, to have a safe place to have their questions asked and answered. That has been, from about our fourth or fifth year, that has been a distinctive of Grace that has been,
Okay.
So I think that is one thing we do okay at.
Because I know that more recently, when I was talking to Joe Choi, I think Kingsley as well, that you guys were more intentional with bringing younger families as well, or retaining young families. Because I think the typical pipeline, people get married and they leave.
So recently, since COVID, we made a real deliberate decision. We were going to have a pastor of families and put a lot of resources into our young families. We'd been too much of a singles or young marrieds without kids. Not too much. I mean, we still had 60, 70 kids. But after COVID, most of them left for more family-friendly and more suburban locations. So we had to rebuild. But we thought, we're going to be a vibrant place for young families, however long they stay.
Right.
So that was a change that we made, yes.
Yeah, because I asked that because you say that, we can't do everything well, and so we kind of have to specialize. But how does that jive with maybe people's perception of a united church, the unity of the church, where you have multi-ethnic and people all different life stages? Because we inevitably have to focus somewhere.
Well, what we found was if we didn't focus on families, they would go somewhere else, or they'd leave us unsatisfied and we weren't ministering well. We don't have to do much to get singles to come. We're just where you live and where you study and where you work. And so what we realized was we naturally, the way our services run and the way we do small groups, those things are really well structured for people without kids. But there was not a lot of structures for people with kids. So we had to add to that element. But for example, when we started families, we stopped our faith and work ministry. We stopped our ministry for the arts because we just couldn't do everything. We were going to be spread too thin. And we felt like we really needed to focus on families. We'll think about a future for faith and work and also for Grace Center for the Arts. So we made them much more lay-led and occasional. And yeah, so you can see how we realized we just can't be great at everything. And we have a certain amount of resources and priorities. Yeah.
Right, and I think we could also talk more about, because one of the second questions were about what does it mean for church to be a family?
Yeah.
And so with the people that we do have, and maybe you can also help us give like a biblical basis for what the family of God is supposed to be like.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we talked about is that the scripture gives a number of places where it alludes to the church as the family of God. For example, in Ephesians 5, which is the famous marriage passage, which has become quite controversial because of some of its implications for marriage roles between the genders. But it does say that the husband is the head of the wife as Christ is the head of his church, his body, and is himself its Savior. As the church submits to Christ, so wives should submit in everything to their husbands. So the husband and wife relationship is like Christ and his bride. It's more of a bride, but also the husbands are the head of the household. And if you look in 1 Timothy chapter 3, for example, when it talks about the roles for elders, they need to be people who can keep their own households well as leaders, because if one cannot govern your own household, how can you govern the household of faith? And so one of the great motifs, there are at least three great motifs in the scriptures for the church: a family, a body, and a temple. 1 Peter talks a lot about the temple of worshipers. We'll talk about that probably a little later. But one of the things that we realized was Toronto as a city is a bit anti-family. You're so busy and you're so distracted. It's troubling to be able to get together and be a family. And so we really wanted to think about how do we make our church in all of its affairs more like a family? How can we be more transparent? How can we have more opportunities for real fellowship? How can we go deeper? How can we have real community rather than just you show up? So one of the things that you will notice about the architecture of our church is, what doors do you leave and enter by? Do you know? You do, right? It's right below you. Those doors were windows in the original building. There were two ways to get into the church. They were at the back of the sanctuary. They're still there on Jarvis Street. You have never used them. Why? Because if you came into the church and left the church through there, you wouldn't mix together. So we went to the Historical Society and we said, we want to relocate how people come in and out, so they have to flow through the main fellowship hall area and mix and give them an opportunity to be a family. So we actually jigged with the architecture, and it took 6 months before we were allowed to do it. We actually had to get the fire code people to go, actually they need another door for how many people they have, so let them do this. Otherwise we weren't going to let it happen. But so in the architecture, you'll notice that this is one big room. It wasn't one big room, it was two. Downstairs was about 6. The whole lobby area was a bunch of offices, and then there was a children's area, and then another office, and then there was a kitchen and a like, it was crazy how segmented it was. So what we've tried to do is make the architectural space good for community. And then what we've always tried to do is say, let's try and get 70, 80, 90% of our people in small groups where they can have some kind of community. And so if you're here and you're part of Grace Toronto, and I know some of you are and some of you aren't, and you're welcome. This is a partnership, but this is not a Grace Toronto ministry. You are welcome. And we're happy that you're here because this is a kind of fellowship that we love. Intermediate fellowship size, small group size, and then big church size. So what we did in the last few years for family is we started to create this intermediate sized gatherings for all kinds of people in seasons of life. Young families have cafes. You guys have this. Men's ministry has one night a week where about 40 of them come. Women's ministry, 40 or 50 of them come another time. Young adults. So what we like to have is small group, intermediate group, and then large group. Those seem to be historically, if you have all three of those, you feel connected, you feel like a family at your church. So we've tried to create those three levels in all kinds of our age and stage of life's people so that you have them.
Okay. In light of the unity, how do you also handle the diversity or the disagreements that could come around it?
Poorly, mostly. How do I handle diversity? No. That's a really good question. We have a lot of diversity. Grace Toronto has an incredible amount of diversity ethnically, theologically, spiritually. We're all over the place. So we've tried to be wide tent at the bottom and very understanding of people and their different sets of places. I don't know how to do it well. The more committed you are, obviously, the levels of unity that we need are greater. And so we just sort of have that cone going up or that triangle going up. So at the top level of the elders of the church, we try and make every decision consensus if we can. If we can't, and we're stuck, we do votes. But everything we try and do is by consensus. Same thing with the staff. We try and communicate a lot with our stakeholders to try and get as much unity as we can. But there's a tagline here, if you're at Grace long enough. Agree to disagree with civility. Agree to disagree and still be brothers and sisters. This is who we are. You come to our membership class, you're going to find we have very distinctive theological views, and most of our people don't hold all of them. The elders are maybe the only ones that do. That's okay, because the body of Christ is wide. So we try and take a Nicene Creed kind of approach. If you follow the Nicene Creed and you have personal faith in Jesus, you're welcome here to all levels. But yeah.
So with diversity comes disagreements, but I believe it also could lead to the different gifts that we have. So can you also speak on in practice, what would be the biblical vision of these spiritual gifts, at least maybe in the context of grace?
We're trying to grow in that. This is an area where we've been weak. The charismatic gifts, in particular spiritual gifts. So we like to unleash you in your spiritual gifts. And if you've got the gift of teaching, we want you to be teaching. If you've got the gift of prophecy, we'd like you to do prophecy. I bought some pizza for you guys for afterwards. And it's supposed to come right at 9 o'clock. And I'm supposed to go pay for it. And so can you guys go, and when he's here, I'll just run and come back? Thanks. Yeah.
Just give them their
You're
the
welcome.
credit card.
We just got you a slice of pizza because you deserve it. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, what was the answer to the question?
Why don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's wait for that.
So with diversity and gifts, we're trying to release your gifts more. We're trying to be much more open to the charismatic gifts. I was never trained in it, so I'm a latecomer to all of this, and I freely admit it. But it's beautiful, and I freely admit that too. So
Maybe not specifically like charismatic, like tongues, but maybe the different skills.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of looking for people who have, like, if you've got the gifts of service or administration, come help us. If you have the gift of teaching, we want to unleash that. So all the variety of gifts that you find in the New Testament, we want to unleash for you in the church to help you find a place. Because when you're working inside your giftedness, you feel blessed. He's here.
Go pay.
I'm going to go pay.
So we'll have, can you turn it back on? So I do want to leave some time for questions from you guys. I don't know if we can get a mic to work. Can we get a mic to work, Roger? This one? Perfect. Okay. Right, so if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and then I'm sure Pastor Dan will answer it once he's done paying.
You will? Thank you.
Oh, this isn't portable. Maybe you gotta...
It's okay, it's reading it. Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we're going to leave some time for the group to ask them their own questions. And so I don't think the mic is portable, unfortunately. So maybe just raise your hand and speak loudly, and Dan will walk towards you.
I can walk towards you. I have bad hearing, so.
Right. So any questions? Yes, Josh.
Yes.
Charles and I discussed in our discussion time, but I was sort of wondering, at what point does a church become too big, like one single church, where the pastor can no longer care for people? Is that?
Yeah. How big is a church when one pastor can't? 80. Yeah, all the stats are in. You need one full-time pastor for every 80 adult congregants, generally speaking. It's pretty small. Most churches that can get to 150 on a solo pastor, but he's kind of burning it pretty hard, and he can't really care for them particularly well. So what I just talked to the head of Bayview Glen. Bayview Glen has 1,800 people. One staff member for every 80 people. Grace Toronto, one staff member every 80 people. It's just funny how it tends to kind of work to that place, but that's what it is, yeah.
Cool.
Great question.
Any other questions?
Yes. Yes, go ahead, back here.
Danny, yep. Oh, no.
Yeah, there was a question back here. Go ahead. Yeah. 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 How do we encourage the lay people to disciple and mentor each other? This is exactly where I think we have been weak. We need to train them up so they can. And they need to have a certain amount of maturity, biblically, et cetera, to be able to answer questions, because that's what happens when you try and mentor people. So that's our great weakness. We train Bible study leaders, give them the answers, give them some theological training, but that's really a discussion facilitation with an answer guide. That's not really training them to disciple others. So what we have been able to do is train leaders for systems, but not train disciples to make disciples, if that makes sense. So that's our journey. What you need is something repeatable that you can use and that you can be trained by, and then you could train others with. It needs to be that simple and that repeatable. That's why McDonald's grew so fast. They found out they could scale their training and reproduce a McDonald's at every corner in every suburb of the world. It was standardization, scaling. It's pretty standard business practices, right? Bill Bright, in a group called Campus Crusade, debuted that idea in American evangelicalism in 1950s. They became the largest Christian missionary organization in the world because he'd figured out how to make disciples who make disciples with the appropriate techniques. Where did he get it from? McDonald's. His COO was a Harvard MBA grad who'd studied McDonald's and franchising. So, and then they've got all kinds of abuse for, you're too corporate, you're too whatever. I am a product of that system. It works. So we are trying to think about something, it's a 70-year-old system, so it probably needs some updating, but yes. Okay, over here, and then I just want to note something. 75% female, 70% male. When did you all become Mennonites? What happened here? Okay, over here, yes.
This might be left field, so.
There are no left field questions at Grace Toronto.
The question is, what is the Presbyterian or your theological approach to women pastors?
What is my theological approach to women pastors?
Sure.
I have to narrow the question because there's like 17 Presbyterian denominations, each with their, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
Our denomination doesn't have the language of pastors. They find that confusing. They use the language that they find in the Bible, which is elders. So we take 1 Timothy 3, the elder needs to be the husband of one wife, fairly seriously. It's a male in that